The dumbest nerf in Destiny history. I swear, it feels like a no-brainer to just immediately talk about Tanash's Mastery, a singular weapon that nerfed an entire subclass for no crazy reason other than it was too strong at the time. For those of you who are unaware, Tanash's Mastery was a rocket sidearm that came out during the final shape year, and the main strength of this weapon was its ability to get a certain perk called Chill Clip, a perk that applies slow stacks gradually to an enemy, eventually freezing them in place. Both the slow from Chill Clip as well as the shatter from breaking the frozen target would deal with two different champion types, both overloads and unstops, all for having a single perk on this gun. Now, Chill Clip is a perk we have seen on many guns before Tanasha's, but it was prevalent on this gun to a point where it was just an instant meta pick. The ability to have a high range weapon with tons of damage and tons of ammo that could now stun two different champion types basically meant that this was an instant pick no matter the content you were in. But the thing is, it went even further, as you can gain Radiant from any source, basically now allowing this gun to deal with 3 champion types instead of just 2. We had a top meta option, like this gun, dominating the meta for such a long time. And we have seen other top options in the past be very strong, but nothing was as versatile as Tanasha's. This weapon had a pigeonhole on the community, being an instant pick for any sort of high level content. And it wasn't just a part of the meta, it was the meta. It was that strong. So what did Bungie decide to do? Target Tanasha's directly? Change how Chill Clip works? Maybe reduce how many slow stacks we can apply? Or maybe make it to where Radiant doesn't apply to Chill Clip rounds? No, they nerfed stasis as a whole and just removed the ability for Shatter to stun unstoppable champions. Late June of 2025, Bungie removed anti-unstop capabilities on stasis, effectively cutting their effectiveness in half. All of a sudden, we had a subclass that can no longer deal with 2 champion types. All of their subclasses in the game, they have the ability to deal with at least 2 champion types. You know, Arc can blind unstops and jolt overloads. Solar can stun unstops with ignitions and pierce anti-barriers with Radiant. This pattern is similar for both Void and Strand, as well as Prismatic having access to at least one version of anti-champion capabilities for everything. But now we have Stasis with just the ability to deal with overloads and overloads only. All of a sudden, Stasis was gutted for the sake of nerfing a single perk on a singular gun. This to me will go down as like the dumbest nerf in Destiny history because it ultimately signified the end of Stasis as a competitive subclass. Now, this is not to say that Stasis cannot have good builds, but immediately overnight, so many Stasis-related exotics, aspects, and certain interactions got nerfed for no apparent reason. And this is just a video of a complete list of all the interactions that can no longer stun unstops. Frost Pulse, Ice Flare Bolts, Bleak Watcher, Diamond Lances, Howl the Storm, sliding into a Stasis Crystal with Cryoclasm as if anyone was actually using that in PvE, double dodging with Winter Shroud, Shatter Dive, literally any touch of Winter Grenade, or every single grenade for that matter, every single Stasis Super, and every single Stasis Melee, Verglass Curve, Wicked Implement, Agger's Scepter, Conditional Finality, technically even if it can still deal with unstops, the Stasis version of it was nerfed, Graviton Spike before it even came out, Icebreaker, technically, Salvation's Grip, Winter Bite, and no, I am still not done, Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap, Icefall Mantles, Hoarfrost Z, Blast Wave Striders. Yes, they actually somehow made this exotic even more useless. Mask of Fealty, Renewal Grasp, Osmiomancy Gloves, Balador's Wrathweavers, Rhymecoat Raiment, Chill Clip, Rhyme Stealer, Cold Steel, Headstone, and even some of the newer perks like Crystalline Corpse Bloom, which really will never see play because it's just a worse version of Chill Clip. That was a long and tiring list, so I'm gonna take a breath for a second, but the main reason I made the video is because they also nerfed Warlock's Prismatic Grenade. Yes, now Warlock's Prism Grenade can only deal with overloads, and overloads only. That's legit why I made the video, because I just realized that and it just bugged the crap out of me, so I figured I might as well complain. There are probably other interactions I'm missing. I don't know, maybe like Bombardiers, or maybe, what is it, Chromatic Fire when you have slow. I mean, that could have worked too, but the reality is, the point I'm making is that they just made a huge sweeping change to the game all over one weapon. You know, a whole subclass was made a little less useful that day, all because Bungie went nuclear and took the bad route. All they had to do was just make it to a Radiant Chill Clip can't stack or something. Or maybe it was a coding issue or, you know, some sort of net issue where they can't make that perk not interact with that other perk or something like that, but it feels like changing them would have been way easier than changing, count them, over 30 different unique interactions. I feel like it would have been way easier to just change chill clip instead of changing 30 different things instead of the one perk. That was the thing that was objectively broken at the time. Like, dude, I miss Diamond Lances. Like, somehow they made Prismatic Titan even more of a melee bot than it already was. The one range thing they had got nerfed. You know, I miss Shadow Diving a group of unstops. That was so much fun, but now that playstyle feels even more limited than before. Any Verglass Curve enjoyers out there? Anyone? You know, they took the dumbest way out. Me personally, I would have not even minded if they just removed Chill Clip from the game entirely and swapped it with a different perk. I mean, they've done that before with, like, Shop Package Felwinter's Lie way back in Destiny 1, Year 1. I'm really showing my age. I really do think the community would have preferred this alternative too. You know, the beauty of a looter shooter is that you can always find a different piece of loot to replace the old stuff that got nerfed. You can't really do that with subclasses because those are foundational pillars of the game. They'll be here a lot longer than X weapon before that gets power crept out of the meta. I mean, seriously, we've gotten 5 versions of Mida Multi-Tool by this point, but we still have the same crappy arc staff on Hunter. Instead of Bungie equipping a sniper and target nerfing Tanashas or Chill Clip, they took a blunderbuss to the entire stasis subclass and just gutted the entire thing. All for a weapon most people might not even have because they've only had Iron Banner like one time in the last, like, I don't know, year or something. It's kind of tragic, to be honest. Something that could have been easily changed by just target nerfing a specific thing instead became the catalyst for an entire subclass feeling weaker than every other one. And I feel like I'm not alone in feeling this, you know. Stasis has very much kind of been out of the meta for a long time now, and even with artifact help, it's always feeling like it's behind the other subclasses. And again, this is to not say that Stasis can never be good. You know, we had Behemoth Titan making waves a while ago, but that also got recently nerfed, and is just a little bit weaker than Prismatic Consecration, in my opinion. You know, we have things that are hot seasonally, but the reality is Stasis as a whole is just weaker than all the other subclasses solely because they can only deal with one champion type at a time. And who's to say in the future Bungie doesn't pull this again with another subclass element? You know, what if Strand can no longer unravel targets and unraveling rounds don't deal with barriers? Or maybe in the future Ignitions no longer deal with unstops? Who knows what they might do in the future? And I feel like having game-wide sweeping changes like these are just overall bad for the health of the game. Not only that, for the returning players, somebody who hasn't played in many years, they'll come back and things that they once knew just fundamentally are different. You know, their builds that they once worked on will do things differently than they were in the past. All of a sudden, their game knowledge doesn't mean anything. All because Bungie flipped the switch. You know, when you make these game-wide changes, it doesn't make people want to play the game more. If anything, it makes them want to quit. Because what they once knew no longer functions the same. And it's kind of insane that they did all this over one weapon, over a singular perk. It's just crazy. I don't know. Maybe there's a part of the story I missed. Maybe there's a bigger picture of the story that I'm just not noticing, or maybe something I didn't know, but it just seems like one of those game-wide changes that made no sense, and to me it's the dumbest nerf in Destiny history. You know, let me know what you think of the great Stasis Gate of 2025, or of any other dumb nerfs that you didn't like way back in the past. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day. Appreciate your time.